rooms that I've been able to get. Oh, that's a nice hot signal. I like it.
About 2,500 online.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Welcome to SL Circle Learning Lunch at the holodeck. We're welcoming some folks today if they're able to come in from Price, Utah, Fillmore, as well as Richfield, Utah. Welcome, folks. We don't have any way for you to go back and forth, and I don't know if you're even on the feed yet. We have a very special guest today, and besides the fact that this guy made it so Trek wasn't an itty bitty little bicycle company, that's not necessarily true. Or is it true? It's true. Okay, cool. Waldorf Astoria is now got a wellness reputation. True? True. And yesterday morning when I called him at 5 o'clock and needed to have things moved from my house, he showed up at 7:30 and he lives in Park City and I'm in Draper. So without more ado, if you guys don't know about the Delos living group or the well building standard, think of it as LEED for the inside. It's really cool. You're gonna learn some things today. It's amazing. We got an event on Tuesday at the Founders Room with Levi McPherson. If you know anything about Levi, he's a master of gamification. I wouldn't call him a motivational speaker because he's really kind of a data speaker. We always have a couple of drinks of alcohol there. If you've never been to the Founders Room, it's fantastic. It's up on the 18th floor. It's a great event. Next week we have Pat Crowley, who was funded by Mark Cuban, went through Shark Tank, and he makes food out of crickets. And then Margaret Romney, that's the speakers coordinator for TEDx, is going to be here, and they're going to be doing coaching on how to be able to be in a position to perfect your pitch. It's going to be pretty cool. A week after that was going to be the Richards father-son company that got in May. John Richards runs Startup Ignition. His son has a little company called DevMelt, which many of you have heard of. But it looks like we're going to have Jonathan House back. You know Jonathan, he's very entertaining. Probably the godfather of Agile as we know it here. And he's going to talk about the crowd nature of planning your own 50th birthday. So this is going to be fun because you got a pretty incredible product mind in Jonathan House the Thursday after. So with no more ado, we're a couple of minutes late. I'm going to go into another room to see how it's broadcasting. Welcome to Holodeck, Scott Cowdrey.
Thank you. Thanks, Joel. Just to give you a little background about what Joel said and what brought me to Utah and kind of where I'm at, so we can just bridge that gap quite quickly. My name is Scott Cowdrey. I came out here in 1992 with Trek Bicycle. I'm an ex-road racer, and then I became a kind of a rep for 5 states out here when Trek was really starting to gain speed. We came to full circle with the third act of the mountain bike with full suspension, the Y bike. And anyway, didn't want to move around. I was traveling like crazy, just having my 2 kids. So I decided to kind of plant out here in Utah. It's such a beautiful place. Been in Park City since then and raised my 2 boys here. Still live up there now. And kind of got into the fitness spa industry kind of by chance. I decided to kind of start over and run some fitness clubs up in Park City and then bought into them. And was in the spa and fitness wellness space with them. Hilton hired me away in 2009 to open the Waldorf Astoria in Park City. And then I consequently since then traveled around to all the different resorts in the world, turning their spas, fitness and wellness centers into, instead of, oh yeah, we're a resort, we have to have this little closet over here because people want it, into actual profit leaders. In many cases carry the rooms division, the food division, especially in shoulder seasons like in Park City. You got to kind of figure out how these things make money. So I left them in 2014, started my own consulting, basically what I've been doing for Hilton worldwide, and then doing it all around different projects across the country. So interestingly enough, when you see healthy workspaces and workplaces and built environments, we're going to get to how that all comes together, but I wanted to kind of take you through, there's so many workplace wellness programs out there that companies kind of took the jump because it became a buzzword from A to D instead of really doing all the work in between. And so we're going to kind of break that down in what Delos and the well building standard. Delos is out of New York, and about 7 years ago, Paul Scialla is the one that founded it. He was an old Morgan Stanley guy, Goldman Sachs guy, decided the interior built environment also needs to be healthy, as opposed to just building a green building. What about the occupants that spend 92% of their time indoors? You and I, right now, this building is kind of determining how we're going to sleep tonight. And a lot of the different wellness touch points. We have terrific circadian light. Your circadian optic nerve right now is telling you that, okay, this is the right kind of light during the day. That's how our bodies are meant to kind of act. Anyway, what does wellness mean to anyone? Anyone want to just throw, when I say wellness, what does it mean to someone? Come on in.
Health.
Hope?
Health.
Health. That's
And
good.
hope. Why not?
And hope.
Happiness, the
Hope.
pursuit of
Right,
happiness.
the American dream. Anyone else?
Balance.
Balance, that's a great one. That's a great one. And the reason I asked the question, because to everyone else it means something different, depending on what's going on in their life right then, depending on maybe what the industry is they're in. You can look at physical wellness, spiritual, and there's a million different definitions, depending on who you're asking. You can have protectorial, your safeguards, that's wellness to you, that's wellness to many people. Social, occupational, financial wellness. So it crosses so many paradigms. The Global Well Institute is a really good body of work if you're ever really interested in kind of taking all of the wellness practices that are out there and bringing it all together. You know, there's a lot of great information out there, but it really takes a lot of work to kind of pull it all together, vet it out, because there are a lot of things out there, both products and service-wise, that are like wellness. That's the new buzzword. That's why I asked, what does wellness mean to you? Well, they said the quality or state of being healthy in body and mind, especially as the result of deliberate effort. And I really like the last part of that sentence, because the deliberate effort is what they're talking about in actually making wellness within whatever you decide it is. They also said an approach to healthcare, which a lot of people think wellness has to do only with health. And obviously we can see it has a lot more to do than just with health. That emphasizes preventing illness and prolonging life as opposed to emphasizing and treating disease. So you know, with the Affordable Health Care Act right now, hospitals are paid to keep people out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So they've got to come up with a lot of prevention, because basically it says, okay, Intermountain Health Care, here's your population you're responsible for, here's the money we're going to give you. Doesn't matter how many come in, you're not getting paid for service anymore, you're getting paid to take care of this group of people. So, hospital, I want to keep them out of the hospital, correct? Because that makes us a little bit more profit. So I found those.
Then more people have insurance, so more people go to the hospital, right?
Well, it depends, because a lot of it's a good question actually, because there are a lot more preventative services available now, because hospitals are having to do that. So they're having to open the doors to find out what is preventative so they don't come in, right? So let's talk about work. I'm bringing this whole thing, you know, we could go on and on about all those definitions of wellness and cover every single one of those, but right off the bat, this is how your job is killing you. If you look at some of these statistics, chronic stress changes gene activity of immune cells before they enter the bloodstream so that they're ready to fight infection or trauma. And what does this cause? The #1 cause of disease is inflammation in the body, period. So if you look at the higher risk of heart attack, more than 80% of Americans are stressed out about their jobs. And 61% of the United States full-time employees are working about 51.5 hours per week. That's about an extra day and a half. And if those environments that they're working in are subpar to their health, just imagine how these things are all stacking up. Depression, strained relationships, higher stress levels. Where do you spend most of your time? At work, right? And so all of these other things are being accelerated, and they're also combining in the workplace. We live sedentary lifestyles. Offices, traditional, not this one necessarily. This is a great space because you can walk around. But the traditional offices with fluorescent lighting and no circadian light rhythms, and all of a sudden we put walls around it to make cubicles, it is an incubator for a sedentary lifestyle. And what happens when we sit? We're sitting on average 11 hours a day. That's the national average right now. 300,000 deaths occur annually due to inactivity, poor diet habits in the United States. All of these things have to do with the promotion of sedentary lifestyles. So, like I was telling you before, you have all of this evidence out there, but you need someone to kind of bring it together and tell you all about it, like the Global Well Institute. But if we're walking into an office, and the office, traditional offices today say, here's your cubicle, here's your fluorescent light, and here's your chair, sit and work. We're kind of products of our environment. So that's kind of what we're going to do, unless somebody changes it. And the workplace is definitely changing today.
How many, I was just going to ask, how many die of smoking now every year?
You know what? That's pretty high.
I think it's passed it up, hasn't it? I think this, what I'm hearing is like, we're getting to the point where smoking is falling in the city, like the sedentary lifestyle is actually projected to pass up smoking.
1 in 11 adults actually have diabetes today, and that's the one that's most rapidly progressing, put it that way. I don't need to tell you a lot of these statistics. I just want to point them out to say that obesity, right now, by 2030, 41% of the global population will be obese. 41%. And these, like I said, we're all products of our environment. And 1 in 3 children at teens age, 2 to 19, are considered overweight and obese right now. 2 out of 3 don't get any daily activity or exercise. 86% of the American workforce is overweight, obese, and has a chronic health condition. These are Gallup health polls as well. Sugar. What do you see right over there in the corner? We do have water. We do have options here. But sugar, the sucrose for comfort. There's someone here that I'm not going to mention that said they award their employees with a closet full of candy. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, we love it. And like being the products of our environment and being grown up, I grew up with all that stuff too. I grew up with hostess family, right? So, but we have to understand the damage that sugar is doing to our lives and what symptoms of sugar intoxication. You know, there are reports out there that say sugar addiction is harder than cocaine to get off of. It's much stronger than cocaine. Okay. Lack of sleep. Anyone can attest to that?
Twins, yes.
And the causes of lack of sleep. And what does that tell you? You feel sluggish or lazy. What is the workplace and your productivity doing at work when you have lack of sleep? And when I was telling you about the circadian optic nerve that doesn't really have anything to do with seeing, if you're sitting in an office right now and you're having blue or whitish light with a different hue, it's telling your body it's 11 a.m. So if you're doing this at night, it's messing with your circadian rhythm. And so that's what these office places, for the most part, they have inside of this what they're promoting. Inflammation. I don't have to go into this. I already discussed the common causes of inflammation. Poor diet, lack of exercise, stress, infections, allergens, toxins, mold. All the things that a lot of workplaces actually have inside of them. And in many cases, the interior environment is much worse, even here in Salt Lake City, than the exterior environment, in many cases. And what I'm going to talk about with regards to the well building standard, you wonder, okay, how is this talking about healthy workplaces and built environments with regards to the brain, the skin, cardiovascular, kidneys, bone, the urinary tract infection, urinary tract diseases? And I'm going to tell you about that in a second. Depression. Everything kind of leads. They say by 2020, this is the Center for Disease Control, by 2020 it will be the leading cause of disability throughout the world, trailing only to ischemic heart disease. And these are the environments that we're working in and that we're living in. These are all the effects of depression on the body. I'm kind of going through a lot of these statistics fast. You guys, I can give you a copy of this at the end, but I just want to kind of set up why I'm talking about all this. What does all that mean? All of that means that 75% of healthcare costs are spent on preventable disease because of our choices and of our environment. 75%. So right now, we treat dis-ease. And if you look at the healthcare paradigm, hospitals operate ER, acute, to barely homeostasis. And wellness practitioners try to operate within just below homeostasis to an elite athlete, but someone that's very healthy. But right now, all the money that's being spent with healthcare costs rising are on preventable diseases because of our choices and of our environments. Let's talk about workplace wellness programs. And when I was talking to you before about what generally people think of workplace wellness programs, box checked. When I said that companies saw the need to put something in place, they really didn't know what they needed to put in place, they just had to throw something out there. So many of these workplace wellness programs are box checked. Great, I'll do an HRA with you, a health risk assessment, and we're gonna make sure that we send you flyers and make sure you exercise. So basically putting it all on you to say, you're working for us. What is that equating to the most employees? Well, 54% of the Global Wellness Institute Workplace Wellness Study surveyed thousands of employees. 54% of those full-time employees said that their employers offer wellness programs and only 2/3 of them take advantage of it, which is pretty good. It's better than none. Less than 40% of those say participation really helps improve their health and wellness. 1/3 of those don't use them at all. 25% of those believe it's offered because management actually cares about their health and wellness. This is big about behavioral change. If you think your employer is doing a box checked, 25% of these people actually think they care about their health and wellness. Well, 75% of them believe it's only to cut company healthcare costs or designed to make employees work harder and be more productive. How much behavior change do you think is going to happen if you think that is the motivator? Not a lot. So they broke this down into non-caring versus caring companies in their survey, and they asked questions of both the people. When the job causes one to feel unwell at a perceived non-caring company, 84% of them say mental health was affected, 75% say their happiness was affected, 68 say physical health was affected, and 52 say family is affected. The converse of that, the biggest workplace wellness detractors that came out of the survey were 48% said they had no break time, 45% said lack of fresh air, and 39% said lack of privacy. Companies that were perceived to be caring companies, so they had more than just the box check workplace wellness within their system, they felt they were 5 times more likely to encourage taking time for themselves, pursuing hobbies, socializing, healthy eating habits, and exercise, kind of the pillar of what really starts to build you up. Corporate wellness, health and wellness, this is just more of the statistics before I really go into why we're talking about all this. What does this mean? These are statistics of 75% of employees think that the new employee, the health support, take ownership of their health and well-being. 75%. What does it mean to an employer if you're not helping in that area? Well, the employees who suffer from stress miss an average of about 24 days per year, and that means about a 10% decrease in their productivity per year. Okay? And if you look at employee engagement and satisfaction and productivity benefits, the top 3 business benefit organizations increased when they increased health and wellness programs. All of those increased across the board. Future trends, I'll talk about those, but I just wanted to show you and set this up to say, what does this have to do with the built environment? What can we do about it? Well, we can throw a pill at it, and we can just, what's the traditional way of taking care of disease is the pharmaceutical industry, right? Guess what? The pharmaceutical industry is only $1 trillion industry. The wellness industry is growing at a much faster rate, and it's already at $3.4 trillion. Who doesn't want to play in that space? And look at the residual effects of the productivity on your employees if, as a company, you are playing in that space. So the economics are quite evident. Bring in the well-building standard. Like I was saying, the interior built environment and what Delos has started is they put a bunch of doctors and architects in a room and said, okay, how do we design interior built environments like, you have a LEED certified building. So your LEED certified building is basically looking at taking care of your footprint when you're building a building. How far do you have to haul things off? What's the imprint of your building? Not just the materials, but it really doesn't take into consideration anything on the interior of the building and taking care of their most valuable asset, which is the employee. The WELL Building Standard is certifying spaces of all typologies. Right now, they're still certifying, the civic centers are being certified right now as far as well as hospitals, probably the most important environment to be well, and probably the most unwell environment with regards to EMFs and all the things that are flying around hospitals to take care and cure dis-ease. What is the WELL framework? Delos came up with 7 pillars of wellness with regards to the human being. No matter where you are, it could be interior, it's exterior, air, water, nourishment, light, fitness, comfort, and mind. Well, how do these things play into a building? What part of this equates to where I'm sitting and producing for my job? Well, what they've done is they've harnessed the built environment to use as a vehicle, and understand that the WELL Building Standard, only 1/3 of it is actually the materials to make you healthier or to improve your health. The other 2 are behavioral changes, operational changes. This is the design is the built environment. But what the WELL Building Standard does is look at every single thing in the package with regards to the operations. If you look at statistics today, humans really only are productive for about six hours a day at their optimal level. And the traditional 8-hour work day is up for debate, but it's certainly the statistics show that you're much more productive 6 hours a day. So operational changes can be things like, are you allowed to go out and work out at noon? Are you allowed to come in at 9 o'clock and work till 4 o'clock? Are you allowed the flexibility to be the most productive individual that you are? So there's a set of guidelines, and there's a grading card basically. You can certify your interior spaces, retail, multifamily homes. There's many different typologies that you can certify. They're either silver, gold, or platinum, depending on where you fall. And basically, when you sign up and you register your brand new project or your retrofit project, you're getting a consultant and an architect and a designer from Delos, and they're called WELL accredited professionals. And they're going to come to you and talk about, okay, how do your employees flow throughout the workday? They're going to walk through all these things that I just mentioned and describe the best design and the best practices from both a design standpoint, a behavioral standpoint, and an operational standpoint to make sure that you are creating the most optimal work environment for your employees to produce. But what happens when you are you're building this environment for your employees? They don't even necessarily have to know it, but you're creating behavioral change without them even really knowing it. So you're going to create these environments that they're going to produce optimally. They're going to feel better, and I have statistics behind this to show of how employees then take that into their home spaces, then take that and want that into their retail spaces. They're going to see the benefits, and it's going to cross many different typologies. So air. What does air have to do with the built environment? Well, air filtration, 100% air filtration, non-off-gassing surfaces, for example. The air quality testing and monitoring. Let's always test this. Sorry about that.
So you got literal crickets for you.
Yes, that was good. The cleaning protocols, material selections, construction processes. This has to do with monitoring the air. What is the optimal air that you want your employees to breathe on the interior environment? It'll be much different than what these older bricks are putting off, what these types of lights are putting off, all the different surfaces. There's 102 different touch points with regards to the WELL Building Standard in a standard building, and it crosses all of these typologies. Water. Look at the filtration of water, and understanding and talking to what's the the benefit of alkaline water. They go through all of these standards, and I could have an entire another discussion on going through each one of the standards and having you understand that, but I'm trying to do a high-level talk about why this is important and moving forward, how this can be extremely profitable for everyone involved. Light. I was talking about the circadian light rhythm in your body, and when you're forced to be under fluorescent lights, or as opposed to a blue light when you travel, for example, if you fly from New York to LA, and one of the standards is to stand in front of a blue light for 15 minutes to catch you back up in your circadian rhythm to take the jet lag away, for example. The circadian rhythm is just, it's remarkable work that they're studying, but it's very interesting. Activity-based levels, when everyone kind of comes back from lunch and it's 2 o'clock, statistics show everyone gets tired. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. A lot of that has to do with the light. With a circadian light rhythm throughout the office space that you're in, it takes your body's natural circadian optic nerve to show you that throughout the day you're going to be productive, and then you would obviously look at dark at night to then tell your body, okay, it's time to sleep. Question?
So can you just kind of describe briefly what you mean when you say a circadian rhythm environment? I mean, do you mean like a skylight, or do you mean like a simulated
both
daytime? Like, what's the kind?
Absolutely both, depending on your space. It's a great question. Right now, this is excellent, because right now you're getting natural. What humans were raised to do is wake up with the light. They have an entire Stay Well program, which I'll briefly touch on. The MGM Grand, they started out with 40 rooms, and the retrofit of each room was only $2,500, and they touched 16 touch points of the well building standard. And one of them is blackout shading at night, and then it basically comes up with the sun, and that's how you naturally wake up. It's complete air filtration. It's non-off-gassing mattresses. It's vitamin C shower filters. Again, I don't want to get into every single piece of it, but
do you dim the lights after it goes dark outside? Like, is a question I was wondering about.
You can
light to work, you know.
You can have that control, but it's also set to where it would follow the natural circadian rhythm of wherever you are. And that's where the blue light comes in to catch you up from New York to LA to say, okay, I'm standing in front of the blue light for 15 minutes, so I don't have the jet lag, and my circadian rhythm resets, and I'm in LA.
Because the other problem with, and I don't want to make you go on this because I know you have great stuff to cover, but just the winters in Utah. I mean, I remember going to school. I was a swimmer starter right at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
And then we would go into our classrooms. Then the sun came up somewhere, I don't know where, because I couldn't see it. And then by the time I left another practice, there was no sun already again. So I never saw the sun during certain months of the year. Right,
okay, so great question. That's why, yes, with natural light, there's also going to be supplemental circadian rhythms all over the office space. But that's what the architects and designers would do. They would look at the light. There's downlighting that is bad. For example, I have an example in here a little bit later of a Reno post office. They save so much money because they have this harsh downlighting, and they changed. The standard goes into how far away are employees from windows, how big are the windows, what is the shade on the windows, then what's the supplemental circadian rhythm in it. So it's a science. These are doctors and architects that have come together to build the optimal, most productive work environment.
Okay, that's cool, yeah. Great.
Nourishment, perfect example. Offering your employees, one thing about water, one of the standards is with every 10,000 square feet, you have access to water and filtered water. So it's not just filtered water is down by the water cooler, but it's in a space that covers 10,000 square feet per so many employees, and that's where you need to place water. You need to subtly create behavior change and encourage those healthy habits that right now, I have a Pepsi machine over here. Yes, if I have my own water bottle, I have that right there. But otherwise, there's healthy food options that need to be offered to your employees. Sanitary food prep areas, and these are more for also the typology of restaurants. Food preparation areas, and actually what goes into building those. Fitness. We saw the statistics before of how sedentary we are and how the workplaces really promote and are incubators for a real sedentary lifestyle. So part of the operational and the behavioral piece of the well building standard is really coming up with a plan to make sure that everybody's walking to places, but it also makes things a little bit more fun. For example, the staircases that are the pianos. That was put in a building in a well-certified building in England. And so instead of taking the escalators, instead of just taking them out, because you can't really force everyone to, you're going to have to still have choices, correct? But if you make the stairs more fun, they tend to walk up the stairs more. So those are the ideas that go into designing these types of places. Physical activity spaces. Does your employer have a place for you to go and either meditate or yoga during the middle of the day to keep your optimal performance level? Do you have gym memberships? Do you have a gym within it? What is that? Do you do office yoga? Do you do, there's just a lot of programs that the well building standard puts into place encompassing the entire wellness of the employee. And then comfort. Interesting, we just learn as the doctors and the architects are still figuring out all the typologies for the well building standard. To code, women are 6 degrees Fahrenheit comfortable at a 6 degrees above where men are. And so these are the doctors. And so all the coded, all of the thermostats in office buildings are set to where the men are 6 degrees below where that is right now. So we're just finding out more information, but it's thermal, it's acoustic. Acoustic noise causes a lot of stress. And if you don't have the right acoustics in here, it causes mental stress and noise. Not necessarily that you would understand and know that, but it really does. Accessibility to the controls and protocols, ergonomic factors that go into comfort, to making it a very comfortable place to work. Again, looking at the highest productivity. And then finally, the last one is mind. And mind covers a whole lot. Like I said, in 2020, one of the leading disabilities is going to be depression. And I think there are a lot of people that they don't understand how much the workplace is playing into all of those factors of how they're walking around every day and how much they take home with their spouse or their significant other and with their children, and how interior environments can play into that tremendously. We just, like I said, we're products of our environment. And if you are put, which I'll show you the statistics in a minute, in a healthy environment, you're not going to know what's going on, but your body, you're going to see behavioral change. You're going to just naturally do the things that we do in here. A connection to nature, beauty, wellness, biophilia in office spaces there's a ton of research in, but plants, living walls, those types of things, extremely important for calming the mind and creating safe spaces and very productive spaces to work in. And adaptable spaces, instead of cubes, getting together with people. Very much like holodeck here. Holodeck is a fantastic space to just really collaborate and be with people all the time, as opposed to just staying in your silo and doing your thing under your fluorescent light and working the day and a half longer every single week, right? So what's the return on, well, how much does this cost, right? What are the numbers to this? Return on investments. Personnel costs significantly outweigh the cost for design and construction, operations, and maintenance of a building. This was the Sustainable Building Technical Manual. These are the codes and practices as we see today. The building design and construction is only 2% of the cost of a building. This is over a span of time. You know why? Operations and maintenance, 6% over time. Personnel, 92%. How can that be? If that's my biggest asset, but I'm going to save because I'm going to get cheap drywall, and I'm not insinuating anything in here is cheap, by the way, because it's not. It's beautifully built. But I'm going to cut corners because I need to make a profit. But where is my profit in the long run? It's the salaries, it's the insurance, it's the employees that sit inside. How much is that cubicle or desk really worth? If you took the numbers and you put a salary of a coder of $100,000 over time, how much is that costing me if I make a terrible space for him or her to actually produce. Tell me how much that costs versus really spending, and I'll tell you the number in a minute. I don't want to blow your mind right away, but spending a little bit more to make this gain massively over time. So the occupant and health and productivity. A typical employer could spend about $233 per square foot annually for employees. Building construction costs generally fall to about 50% below that. So in addition to annual employee salary-related expenditures are approximately 130 times greater than energy costs in a building. Do you see where this is going of who should I really take care of, right? Who's going to produce for me the most? Is it because I'm saving energy on my HVAC system? No, but maybe if I get the right HVAC system with a complete rabbit air filtration system for every single 500 square foot of space, maybe that $233 could actually go down and my productivity can go up. Productivity increase of 6% equates to a savings of the employer of $14 per square foot. This is an average 100,000 square foot building, which is 8 times the cost of the building's annual energy bill. So when you're looking at savings, traditionally developers and in the construction industry think about that one-time cost. But as a business owner and a building owner, and you know that you want to maximize that real rentable square footage space, doesn't matter who's in there, I want to maximize what that space really costs me. I'm not going to cheat on drywall and whatever. This is the working example I was trying to tell you about. This was a Reno post office in Nevada. It was a warehouse with the high ceilings. It was redesigned with a new slope ceiling to enhance the indirect light and improve acoustics. The original harsh down direct lighting was replaced with softer, more efficient, and longer lasting lamps. Total renovation was $300,000. You look at that number, you're like, wow, $300,000, and I'm just kind of changing some light bulbs. Not really, but you're really just kind of changing the light. The associated annual energy savings was $22,400. So it is making the building more efficient. And the maintenance savings was $30,000 for a combined savings of $52,400, which equated to a 6-year payback. What the post office also discovered was that the renovation measures, which resulted in better lighting and acoustics, that led productivity increase of more than 6%. A 6% productivity increase, savings was more than $400,000 annually at the Reno post office, returning an entire renovation cost within 1 year. This is how it was broken down. That's the typical 100,000 foot square office building. The utility costs are about $1.80 a square foot. Annual utility costs, it's $180,000. Personnel cost, average employee salary and benefits is $35,000. You multiply that, average employee space per square foot in a facility of that typology is 150 square feet. The estimated number of building occupants in 150 square feet is 667, that's give or take, if they have enough people. Annual average personnel cost per square foot is that $233 a square foot. The total building personnel cost is $23 million. And the savings value of 6% productivity increase of $14 a square foot, the ratio of productivity increase to energy costs was 8 times that. So that's just one working example of what really, you look at a $300,000 renovation, really take those numbers out and look at your employees, but not just to save money. When we go back to what I was talking about, the caring and non-caring companies, when you really put thought and design and building into spaces, that you're going to have these people working productively 6 hours a day, what is that really returning in the long run? Your most valuable asset is your employee. It is not saying, oh my gosh, it's a $300,000 renovation. Well, let's just say we had a 2% increase in productivity. Let's just take the devil's advocate. You're still saving in maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But really, what the well building standard looks at, and the costs are coming up. So You're going to see a video here in a second, and this was the very first case study of the Cbre building as a headquarters in Los Angeles. They were the first complete retrofit well building standard office typology when the well building standard took flight. So they had over 48,000 rentable square feet, and Cbre invested an estimated $3.60 per square foot in construction costs, encompassing about a 1.73 premium over traditional construction. And they implemented the well features into their office space. So basically, you're looking at it's really about a 2% lift from traditional construction. I'm going to build a building this way, the way that we build it today, or I'm going to implement, and this is platinum level, well building standard, you're about a 2% lift from traditional construction. So every place that I've gone, any architect that's seen this for the first time, and any designer, the question is, why would I do that? The question is not, why do I want to do that? It's why not? Why can't I see a 2%? And the 2% return on, for example, the hotel typologies, the $2,500 per room to retrofit 40 rooms, they were sold out. They had a 30-point higher rack rate, 6-week return. Now the MGM Grand has an entire Staywell wing, 140 rooms that are Staywell with the 16 typologies of the well building standard, and they are sold out all the time. Remember that $3.4 trillion number I showed you in wellness? That has to do with wellness travel too. People are, and millennials, for example, if you look at all the generation, the Gen X's and then baby boomers and what their kind of priorities are, millennials is not high salaries. It's health and wellness, amenities within their workplace. It's urban environments. They don't want to own cars. So they get it. And so this is what happened when they did the surveys after the Cbre had been done for a year. 83% felt more productive. This is a big building. 90% would not go back to the old way of working. 92% said the new space was created a positive effect on their health and well-being. So they see something coming out of this that is a result. 86% felt they had ample access to focus or private space when needed. That was one of the most adverse work conditions in the previous slide. 87% that the new environment has helped them generate business. 100% agreed that clients are interested in their new way of working. 94% said that the new space has a positive impact on their business performance, and 93% said that they are able to move more easily and collaborate with others. So those are the statistics that came out of the very first office typology, which was the first typology, and now they have a living lab in the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic, and so they're continuing to certify typologies to where every one of them will be done shortly. What does that mean to a company like Cbre? The benefits reported by building owners on impact of design and construction. Healthcare costs. 40% of owners report cost reductions ranging anywhere from less than 1% to over 5%. Employee satisfaction engagement. 2/3 of owners reported improvement with over 30% at a high level of improvement. Occupant productivity. More than 25% of owners reported improvements of 3% or more. Absenteeism. 1/3 of the owners report costs reductions at varying ranges of employee absenteeism. So with only a 2% lift over traditional construction, the well building standard is definitely a sustainable investment model for a city like Salt Lake City. And that brings wellness and education experiences to all typologies that we live, work, and play in. And so you can see the savings and what it does. And what I want to show you is the Cbre example, as well as really what Delos is all about.
Delos Living is committed to creating a well building standard.
Why stop at building homes or offices or hotels that are good for just the environment? Why not also build these structures so they're good for the people who live, work, and stay there?
Delos has established a new standard for design and architecture.
What we're doing with real estate for the first time ever, we're bringing wellness. We spend a huge amount of our time inside all over the world. We have given relatively little thought to what happens to us in all those hours we are without.
What types of things can we do to introduce preventative medical intentions into four walls and a roof?
We're talking about better water, better
That's
light,
Cbre
better
building.
care, designed to make people have a better wellness status.
The Delos organization, who is an organization that has helped us understand the humanity of this project, is joining us in this effort by incorporating the advanced processes and technologies being pioneered by the well building standard.
Our partners have included the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, Columbia Medical School. We looked around the world for the best institutions, and we married science, technology to architecture.
Our goal is to try to build these homes all over the country.
We think of real estate as the largest asset class in the world, $150 trillion, and we're looking to infuse that with the fastest growing and arguably most important industry in the world, health and wellness. We did take our time to make sure that the well building standard was written as a program that can be implemented into any type of space.
This isn't a more expensive proposition. This is a better economic proposition.
They really are trying to get people to totally rethink the way we design buildings.
Cbre's global headquarters in downtown LA will be the first well-certified offices.
This move is not about reducing our footprint, unnecessarily saving costs. It was about changing the workplace to better fit with how we work as an organization. We're implementing this standard in an office project on the West Coast, and a hospitality project in Las Vegas.
Can a hotel room make you healthier?
A hotel room is designed to make you more healthy. The 44 wellness rooms, as they're called, debut at the MGM Grand.
This is the next frontier in well-being, designing environments that basically allow your body to self-regulate.
We are about to actually quadruple the room count at MGM. We opened up a wing of stay well rooms. Each room has about 16 amenities.
We're constantly trying to look at ways to improve the guest experience.
We're not just talking about high-end luxury real estate here. We're not just talking about hotel rooms. We're talking about libraries, schools, public facilities.
New standards on wellness. That's going to put fire in these kids to know that they're sitting in something and they're part of something that's going to change their neighborhood and America.
The idea of launching the world's first building standard that focuses exclusively on wellness, it's about time.
It will literally change the way we live and work in a very positive way.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
This certainly is something that you addressed in your presentation, although it impacts everybody in the city, and that is the water quality.
Yes.
Flint, Michigan has gotten a lot of attention because of the health problems that they believe are caused by the quality of water. Yet Flint, Michigan's water is considered to be cleaner than Salt Lake's. And so cities, in fact, there's a continuum, they fall about right in the middle. And so half of the countries half of the cities in the country are on the wrong side of that line.
Well, it's a very good question, and I think you have to really define what is unhealthy water. Because if you're going to talk about lead, then all the antibiotics and other things that could possibly leach into water systems, lead's going to be the most harming. However, the infrastructure to actually outfit an entire city with new pipes, is billions. Actually about 4 billion for Flint, Michigan, to be exact. So it makes more sense to come up with, who Delos has teamed up with, and we have teamed up with, is a Viking water system. It's VYYKN. Yeah, no, Viking. It's a company actually out of Boise, Idaho. They're now, they've banned the sale of water bottles in San Francisco, and the sale of bottled water, I should say, water bottles, bottled water, and they also have done that in Ketchum. They've moved their headquarters to Ketchum, and it's basically a machine that has real-time, I can show you real fast, has real-time statistics on not only the water that's being pumped into these machines, but it's also telling you on a dashboard exactly. This is a Viking water machine, so it has basically, there's 4 different types. And this is a cost of this and outfitting an entire city like they've done in Ketchum, like they've done in San Francisco, doesn't come close to $4 billion. It doesn't make sense. Plus, for every single thing, not just the main city water, but then coming off of that into buildings like this, it's just crazy. So this gentleman, Steve Kazara, invented this several years ago, and he's putting these all over the world. And this is basically, the revenue model on this is a subscription. You would buy your yearly subscription for as much water as you can drink is $60. And it's every kind of water you want. If you want just filtered water, do you want alkaline water, do you want hot water, or do you want bubbly water that's not carbonated water? In other words, I didn't really know about all of the water science about, reverse osmosis strips all of the minerals out of it, but then you really need to put it back and infuse it with minerals. I would venture to say that there's a huge high mineral content here in Salt Lake City water, and you can actually call the water commissioner at any time and they can tell you. The beauty of these dashboards right here, if we had one of these machines here, not only could we see what the water quality is coming into the machine, but so can Steve back in Ketchum. And he has, in the past, called the water commissioner in San Francisco saying, hey, I'm getting all these really weird readings. It looks like somebody's dumped a ton of antibiotics into your water system. And sure enough, they did. So he's able to catch that real time. And so if you look at what is Viking, it tells you you have an RFID or an app that your phone, you go up to any one of these machines and you just fill up. And it's whatever kind of water you want. This goes into coffee shops, there are restaurant applications, this would be on tracks lines, this would be in office spaces. And again, with regards to the well building standard, it's one water source for every 10,000 square feet. And how Viking works, where they are, but here's your dashboard. Because one thing that's really interesting about this that a lot of people don't know, I didn't know, pounds of CO2 removed by going to a Viking system. The CO2 removed, well, that's in the production of plastic bottles. What else? Gallons eliminated of oil, the oil that it takes to produce the plastic bottles. Plastic bottles prevented, 378,024 right now, and then liters dispensed. So not only on your app do you have a personal dashboard, you also have push notifications to say 90% of Americans are dehydrated, period. They just don't get enough water. I showed my boys this, and they're like drinking a gallon of water a day, which is actually great. And I showed them all these little things. I drink 6 of those a day, and this is alkaline, and I have to drink a lot. But 90% of the population is dehydrated. With your app, you get a push notification because they know exactly how many liters. You can turn that on or off to say, hey, you know what? You've only had 3, fill-ups today. You need to really drink some more water. So it's a great question. It's a great system. And so they're searching out the best of the best. They're serious about these spaces and the impact, like I said, the reward for a 2% lift in construction costs and the long-term rewards on that, staggering. And the productivity and all of those statistics I loaded you up with to say, wow, we really suck, because we can do better. But no one's really thought about it, when you just have here's how we do it, and you just kind of follow along. We're all products of our environment. I'm going to my cubicle. I'm going to go, do I really know what this is doing to me? No, I don't, but I do now. And I'm passionate about this.
And one machine provides water for 1,000 employees?
Thousands, actually 100,000.
So the machines are installed at the building level and not at the kitchen level?
Both. Like I said, every 10,000 square feet, which is the standard. You certainly, if you're not going to be within the standard, depending on if you're gold, silver, gold, or platinum standard, where you fall on the scorecard, the Viking machine would be perfect for here. You're not going to have that high of use. It would last years before and they have service people all over that would change the filtration systems, but he built these sensors and different filtration systems that give you the best quality water, and each one of them has to be different. A Flint machine would have to be different than a Salt Lake machine. And then they continue to monitor. That's why they monitor the water wherever these are hooked up.
So there'd be a machine here and then one for the building, so the water out of the, say, the tap in the bathroom is plants of the.
No, I see what you're asking. No, you would have to go to the machine. The machine is not a back of the house filtrate the entire building. The machine is much like that one over there, but that one over there just has a filter that you change. It doesn't really tell you what kind of water's coming into it, what kind of water's coming out of it.
And what was the price?
$60 a year for you to have unlimited water.
How does he make money?
Does he sell the machine and then that's?
Because it's also $60 for me. Right? And
exactly. It's a membership model, and all he's looking to do. Aaron Brockovich is on his board.
Sold.
Well, I just the people behind it. Anyway, yes.
Kind of different topic, Chris. You made a lot of comparisons, and you may have addressed this, but I didn't catch. Was that kind of before, after? Was it similar building style? What was kind of the control comparison of what we did to similar, like, was it the building?
What was the built environment before?
Yeah, so how do we know that, and just kind of devil's advocate here, that the employees didn't just feel better because they were making the changes and so they felt important? Do you know where I'm going with that?
Yes, I do, but like I said, when they came up with the building standard, which took 7 years of doctors and architects and $10 million to come up with this book, it was all about sensors. And what is this doing? Did I even know my mattress off gases every single night? I mean, the materials and the chemicals that go into making mattresses and what I'm breathing all night long, and that I'm under a light. I didn't know any of this stuff. And the architects didn't either, neither did the designers. That's why it took this room of, okay, well, let's put these sensors in here and let me show you what this is. And so the different levels of what humans should have were all measured against that. And then you have the well-built environment, and then you measure it again. And so,
yes, okay. So,
yes, I think that there's a great argument to say, you know what, I just feel better because it looks better. I'm sure that that could be.
That's what I'm wondering, is if you have done or considered doing yet, like just kind of doing a little control study where you've taken, I know it'll get blown out of the water by what you did, and we all know that pretty well, but I wondered if you just said, okay, well, true control, we take the exact amount of money we would have invested in this and just throw out a bonus to everyone and just compare how people feel about all this stuff and just see what because that's what I would be interested to see is.
I think if you're looking for just the human satisfaction of somebody getting monetarily rewarded versus the longevity of their life, then I think we wouldn't want to do that experiment. We just have no interest in it because we're, one of the best measurable typologies that we have in the Living Well lab right now is in the Cleveland Clinic. It is a living well lab. Every single thing is being monitored. And one of the biggest offenders in a hospital and here are, if you guys are still using the Bluetooth headsets, the EMFs with regards to buildings and not being grounded correctly. And there's a way to alleviate EMFs in a building, but no one's doing it. There are people that come after the fact and they're doing it, but I never use those things anymore. I have a meter at my house. When I started into this, my boys thought I was like off my rocker because I got a measurement of my microwave, everything. I'm not jumping off, and I use the microwave still, but it's just emitting. And my house is completely grounded with the equipment that Delos has. That I have grounding equipment in my entire house.
Yeah. So I think that. The reason I ask is just that I think not that you need more to support this, but I think what you maybe see is your comparisons were actually you'll get an even stronger comparison that this is all better.
And I don't think that we're really interested in that type of data as much as we are to say, I will bet in 10 years, this is just my hunch, in 10 years, if there is a property next to another property and one's for sale and it has building standard touch points within it, and the building next door does not. Right now, the return is about a 30% hike. But I think that it will really devalue, because as rapidly as they're growing, CBRE just commissioned 100 of their buildings to have complete retrofits like this.
So your equity is going to be, you're going to have zero cost because your equity is actually going to be higher after the deal.
Exactly. Sorry, Joel, I'm talking too long. I put another quarter in there so we keep going.
I just basically wanted to say, as many of you know, that we try to wrap this up at the top of the hour. But of course, you can go a little bit longer if you guys want to stick around. He doesn't bite. He's got a pretty cool message as well. So
There's a storm outside.
I'm gonna drop off the holodeck, and I'll just do a quick little pitch. Thanks for joining us today with Scott Cowdrey. We've got some great stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Again, we have Pat Crowley, Margaret Romney next Thursday. The following Thursday, we've got Jonathan House. If you'd like to come to our event on Tuesday, we've got our good friend Levi McPherson at the Founders Room. Never been there. It's at 1 South Main. It's on the top floor of
Great event.
Yeah, it's a fantastic event. And if you like to imbibe, I'll buy you 2 drinks. So that's okay. And it's amazing. You're inside it's big. You actually have a cocktail, which is cool. But we'll go back to your messaging. I do have 2 spots that are available in May, and I think I've hit you guys up to do one of them, right? Well, I'm going to go from there. See, you come attend a few times. Phil can tell you that as well. We'll put you in. But I'm going to turn off the
worldwide feed.
The worldwide web. And some people can jump on board. They're not in a position to be able to raise their hand yet, so we'll turn back from here on that. So we'll do the hand clap, but then we can keep going. Ready? Here we go.
Very good presentation, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't want to punish anyone else, so I'll just ask